Last week saw IBM dip more of its toes back into the waters of business process automation and management with its acquisition of Italian process mining and analytics specialist myInvenio. Now, IBM was already licensing myInvenio's technology as part of its cloud pack for automation, but this acquisition gives IBM the chance to integrate the technology much more deeply into its automation platform. IBM wants to make the myInvenio technology a seamless part of its platform and wants to add process mining, analytics, and optimization from myInvenio right in as core parts of the business and IT automation proposition it's now building. The most obvious way that myInvenio's technology will complement IBM's existing automation platform is that it will be used to help clients identify opportunities to automate tasks with RPA. In other words, using process mining to create automation pipelines, just like UiPath, Automation Anywhere, and Microsoft do with their offerings. However, myInvenio can also discover business rules by analyzing how and why different process cases vary in the paths that they take, which brings the potential to then automate the generation of business rules. And what's more, myInvenio can potentially identify other kinds of automation opportunity. For example, business process automation with workflow, or automation of more exploratory work types with case management, for example. So it can potentially act as a front end for the broader IBM platform. Longer term, its technology could also be used to provide a kind of ongoing operational insight capability for business, IT, and network management processes, highlighting potential problems and proactively suggesting fixes, which is just what Celonis is doing with its execution management system. Now, speaking of Celonis, the eagle-eyed among you may be wondering why IBM acquired myInvenio when its business services division just made a big fanfare about a new strategic alliance with Red Hat and Celonis. When I asked IBM about this, the answer was that the deal with Celonis was very much, among other things, about getting Celonis to commit to Red Hat as a foundation platform. But I think, and this is a personal view only, that at this stage, part of the reason for the way things played out the way they have is that Celonis would have been unlikely to sell at a price that IBM would want to pay. It has a very clear strategy and roadmap that isn't really very complementary with where IBM is wanting to go. Now, I also want to quickly go back to the start of what I was talking about, where I mentioned that IBM is kind of rediscovering this space, dipping its toes back in the water. And I said that because back in the late 2000s, as business process management suites started to catch on, IBM got stuck right in. It bought FileNet and Lombardi, and it led efforts to define the BPMN standard, which is still pretty important today. But in recent years, I think it's fair to say that IBM has cooled on this topic as it's focused more on things like cloud and AI. But with the WDG acquisition and now the myInvenio acquisition, IBM appears to be revitalizing its efforts and rejuvenating its focus on automation in a way that cuts across domains, as I mentioned earlier, not only business processes, but also IT and network management processes. You might be surprised that IBM didn't make these moves earlier, the acquisitions of WDG and myInvenio, but I don't think anyone should be. Why? Well, I think the reason is that IBM has always taken quite an IT-centric view of business automation. And this latest wave of innovation and market growth, driven by RPA and now by process mining, has broken across industries, led very much by business teams, not by IT. Other automation vendors with more of a focus on engaging with business teams and leaders in client organizations have been quite quick to spot the ramp up in spending intentions and quite quick to capitalize. IBM less so. With this rejuvenated focus, it's going to be really interesting to see how big a slice of IBM can take of the growth that's now in this market, particularly now so much spending in this space is driven by business teams and leaders, not just IT leaders. Thanks very much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this, please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all soon. Take care, everyone.